Yo, Warner Brothers and Legendary just dropped the newest, hottest collab. It's that GXK. You know, that Godzilla X Kong. Let's get on it.
Machine Gun Kelly?
No. Welcome to the Cinefanatics. My name is Robert Adams.
I'm Chris Adams.
And yeah, we just got out of Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire. Apparently this is the month of Empire movie subtitles.
A New Empire?
A New Empire. Is this Frozen? Was this New Empire or Frozen Empire?
Frozen Empire was last week.
Was this Empire Striking Back?
No, that was decades ago.
So this movie's definitely like putting me in like an Empire state of mind.
That's so dumb.
But I'll be hood forever.
We're from Austin, not New York.
Anyways, those of you that are still watching after all that dumbness, welcome. We're Cinefanatics. We like to talk about movies. Yeah, so Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire.
Spoiler-free review.
It is a spoiler-free review. I don't know if you caught that, but there's one pivotal shot that was also in the trailers, and there was something that was edited out in the trailer shot, and I was like,
Scrubbed
oh.
away.
Yeah.
Like a couple extra Spider-Men.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, exactly. It was actually exactly like that.
Andrew Garfield's in this movie is what we're trying to say.
And Tobey Maguire. No, so this is like, what, the fifth movie in the Monsterverse?
Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, King of the Monsters, Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla X Kong, the new record.
Yeah, and for, so everyone knows like where we're coming from, we have not watched the Monarch TV series, whatever that was.
No, that one we have not caught up with. So if there's absolutely any part of that show that is referenced in this movie, we didn't catch it.
Yeah. I'm not a huge... neither one of us are big enough fans of Godzilla and Kong, specifically the Monsterverse, to necessitate us needing to watch that show.
I do like Kurt Russell, though, so maybe.
I mean, eventually, maybe... We'll see. This one just gave me like a really good reason to potentially want to go back and dive back into these movies some more.
So what he's saying is he likes this movie.
This movie was fantastic.
Yeah, he loves the movie. Yeah, I mean, overall, like we said in the out of the theater reaction, if you happen to catch that, if not, go ahead and watch that too, just to help us out. If you like the big monster smashy, punchy, there's a lot more of it in this than I feel like there's been in several movies. Maybe
than any of the other ones.
Maybe a little bit in King of the Monsters because there was a bunch of monsters for Godzilla to fight in that. But outside of that, this movie really had a lot of monster smashy stuff going on.
And not a whole lot of human talkie.
No, the humans that were there were literally there for exposition to kind of tell us what's going on and kind of assist in a way the big monsters who needed to do their thing. The humans kind of did a little medical assisting and, just general assisting.
A little expositing, a little traveling. They are basically the vehicle for the audience to get into this movie. I had a really good pizza while watching it.
Greetings from the interior.
From the inside. This is not a hollow Robert, is what I'm saying.
It is absolutely not.
Anyways, yeah, so I love the fact that they toned down the human element in this movie. That's been probably my major issue with all the other ones, is when I go to see movies about giant titan monsters, kaijus fighting, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Like, King of the Monsters is probably the most disappointing out of all of them, in my opinion. You had, like, Godzilla plus, like, what, 3 other monsters?
Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra.
Yeah, and the actual monster fighting is maybe 5 minutes of that entire, like, 2.5 hour long movie or something like that. It's really insignificant, and I need more significance.
And that fighting in that movie was in the dark. They were doing the age-old, hey, let's put everything in the dark so we don't have to work as hard on the CG and spend as much money on the CG. That. It's understandable how to cut budget a little bit, but at least in this movie, the big fighting is all done in broad daylight.
Yeah, and that's much better too. So yes, there's a lot more animal fighting in this, big monster beast fighting in this movie, which I love. The whole entire purpose of the humans is to basically read that there's a signal from Hollow Earth and then to go down there.
So
That's it.
We can have our audience eyes into the big monster smashy smashy.
Yeah, and these humans generally, they always like do a lot of like science
Yeah.
words, and it's a whole lot of highfalutin, I'm too dumb to understand this, and it takes me out of the movie when I'm watching it.
Because you're too dumb to understand it.
Anyways, there's a reason why I typically will fall out of watching these movies, and it's usually that. Shut up.
That being said, that is kind of my one like nitpick with some of the human characters is that I really feel like Rebecca Hall's character at this point she has a good arc with the little girl, but outside of that, her whole purpose is just to literally explain the entire movie and what's happening to us.
Yeah, she's
the whole way through.
She's explaining the science stuff to, like in this case, like to Brian Tyree Henry, to Dan Stevens.
Oh, I wouldn't even say that.
And to us.
I wouldn't even say that. I would say she's just strictly reading the screenplay of the movie to us the entire time.
Yeah. So that being said, like maybe the human side of this, not great. But again, I don't care. That's not what I'm watching this movie for.
It's a little bit thinner. Yeah, you say that, but also I would argue that Godzilla -1, the human element, was the best part of the movie.
I was actually thinking of that earlier, and this is a complete like difference. When you hear people talk about like, hey, if you're not a Godzilla fan, if you haven't been liking these MonsterVerse movies, go watch Godzilla -1. And yeah, I would say that's a very clear statement.
But the difference there is that Godzilla -1 is a human story in a world with Godzilla.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie is a Godzilla and King Kong story in a world that also happens to have humans.
Correct.
So if you want to know the difference between those two, that's kind of what it is. And there is room in this world for both iterations of the Godzilla take. So
I just like the -1 more.
Yeah.
But this one was good for completely different reasons.
Yeah, so sometimes you want a movie that makes you feel things, like Godzilla -1 made you feel some stuff. This movie is just a good time to throw some popcorn in your face, just kick back, relax, and enjoy yourself.
I had a beer and a pizza while watching this, and
hell yeah,
I was having the time of my life.
King Kong ran around with a metal arm and an axe.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, this is the epitome of my life right now.
A lot of good stuff though. My favorite character in the movie, Dan Stevens, his character.
Which is funny because I really don't like him usually in almost anything I see him in.
He's typically pretty good.
He's just there.
He's typically pretty good. He was a fun character. Both him and Brian Tyree Henry were really pulling the jokey comedy stuff together for this movie. The lightheartedness, and that really put a smile on my face between the two of them.
Oh, first of all, I want to say the little girl Jaya, phenomenal job. She is doing such a good job. The actress is actually deaf in real life, and she does a really good job of conveying those emotions and still being able to interact and talk with the characters on the screen while having to deal with the fact that there's not real CGI kaiju in front of her. And like that is probably the weird to say, that is probably the strongest connection in these movies so far. Like the last one, Godzilla versus Kong, there was a good connection between her and Kong starting off at the beginning of that movie.
Yeah.
This movie, I really like that connection that she has specifically with Kong, but with the whole world that she's a part of.
Yeah. And then, it's just all around, like, the characters, they were there. They were a lot of fun in places, a lot of exposition. But honestly, when it comes down to it, it's how are Godzilla and how are King Kong? Because they're the names that are on there. And also, the bad guy. Bad monster character.
Bad monsters.
The villain is a very like one note thin. It's really, I think the villain just exists to create a punching bag for Godzilla and King Kong.
So
not a whole lot there. The whole line of reasoning for that villain to exist isn't really like, it's not like a huge like, oh, you got to think about it. That character really exists for King Kong and Godzilla to beat around a little bit.
So I want to clarify, this one is not a spoiler, but the primary villain is another giant ape.
Yeah.
Who controls a giant...
Hey, did you watch the trailer? All right, you got it.
Yeah, it's pretty well known by now. But this ape also controls a giant like ice lizard monster.
That might be a spoiler.
That's not. That's why I'm saying it.
Well, I didn't know going to the theater, so hopefully you didn't either.
It's okay. But I mean, that's really the main antagonist of this movie. And what I like is the couple of scenes where the humans just shut the hell up and we're just getting animal fighting.
Oh, yeah.
And those are gorgeous. Like, there's one major one roughly about halfway through the movie where Kong is getting introduced to the other apes.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, it's like about five minutes long, maybe. And it's all silent, but you are able to understand every single emotion that's being portrayed on the screen. And they do a good job of giving Kong and all these other creatures like
actual
human
character.
Emoting kind of looks.
They give them an actual character. They personify them very well.
Like when he first sees all the other apes, we get that shot of the trailer of him just like looking at the camera.
My people.
Yeah, and like you see that and you know immediately what he's thinking, how he's feeling.
I found my family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so overall, in terms of all of that, it's I forgot what I was going to say.
All about the Titans fighting and
oh yeah, Titans fighting is really good.
Yeah. And then of course you got the big like finale
Got
fight.
it.
Okay. We'll hold what I was saying.
Please
back
do.
to you.
Yes, it's one of my favorite aspects of this movie is that there are 3 different storylines essentially happening at the same time.
Yeah.
There is what are the humans doing, what is Kong doing, and what is Godzilla doing. Mm-hmm. And eventually they all do converge, but in the meantime, it does cut back and forth between them. Kong is going on an adventure on his own, basically. Godzilla is handling business on the surface world.
Getting ready.
Like Godzilla normally does. And then the humans are discovering the deeper seated plot of what's actually happening beneath the surface.
Yeah.
Until eventually everybody just kind of comes together. And there's aspects of this movie that are not shown in the trailers that I'm absolutely so glad that they didn't spoil or give stuff away, because there's something there that I really, really enjoyed, just pulling the whole thing together, basically.
Yeah. So like I was saying, going back to like that final fight is great because it is just all over the place with it and just stuff flying over here, just all over. Absolutely loved it. This is kind of like what you said. This is a good popcorn flick. And as I said, like in the out of the theater reaction, I do feel that this is a live action cartoon, which yes, it's because a lot of them are CGI characters. Go back to that Lion King 2019 argument. It is not necessarily live action. It is more animated because of the CGI. But,
Avatar.
And yeah, like Avatar, same kind of idea, but it just was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
It had a lot of like, yeah, kind of moments to it.
A lot of really funny moments to it. This movie's got some really good humor in it.
Got good humor. It has good heart, which is not something I feel like we typically get in a Godzilla or King Kong movie.
Yeah, but you really are able to connect with like King Kong. You're able to connect with. Well, I don't know if you connect with Godzilla as much, but you're really able to connect with King Kong in this movie, much like you have in prior movies too. And that's just kind of a neat thing that they're able to accomplish, getting us as the audience, as the humans, to connect with these big kaiju characters on that level. Very unique.
And then you get like you get some silliness in this. Yes, King Kong wearing this metal gauntlet on his arm.
No, it's great.
It's silly, but man,
great.
It's awesome. It is so awesome.
And the characters in the movie, they realize how goofy it is too, and they love it also.
Like this whole thing is just like, really, guys, just okay.
I think the beautiful thing is that when the movie is not supposed to take itself seriously, it doesn't take itself seriously. But when it does, or when it is supposed to take itself seriously, it does.
Yeah. So basically overall, I feel like if you have the same kind of opinion that say we do, that like, I really just want to watch these kaiju fight and like, let's tone down the human element. This is finally the movie for you. I see a lot of like reviews or opinions so far are kind of mixed because they don't feel like the humans did enough. There wasn't enough exposition. Or,
no, there was a lot of exposition.
I thought it was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to what are you expecting to get out of these movies? If you're wanting to watch these movies just to see how the humans deal with these creatures existing, then watch the other MonsterVerse movies that came before this one, because that's all they are. But if you like the fight beat 'em up of all the monsters just going ham on one another, this is it. This is your movie. You're gonna love this.
Yep.
So
overall, I look at this and I'm giving it a solid like 8 out of 10.
I agree.
I think there's definitely some like corny elements. There's definitely some elements that are like, okay, that's kind of goofy. But outside of those elements, it's actually just a neatly, tightly packed, fun time at the theater. We'll see how long this lasts. Because I think the beautiful thing about rating these things is that sometimes your rating changes over time. Like I know I rated Godzilla versus Kong kind of high, and upon a rewatch lately, I was like, well, this is kind of more of a.
Yeah, I did enjoy it a little bit more on the rewatch also. So.
No, I was saying the Godzilla versus Kong I enjoyed a little bit less on the rewatch.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, yeah, I enjoyed it more. So go figure. Anyways, yeah, that's gonna be our rating for this movie.
What's your rating?
8.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I say. I agree. So that's going to be our rating for this movie. What did you think of this movie or this review that's all over the place? Let us know down below in the comments. We just like to have fun when talking about movies over here. While you're down there, though, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Come follow us on social media. We are at The Son of Fanatics on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. You can follow me personally at RCA Reacts on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd, and YouTube.com/@RCA Reacts.
And you can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP.
Anyways, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you for watching us. We will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Big monkey.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew that was coming.
Every time.